Welcome to Standing in the Sunlight with Cynthia Rose. We are all on an ever-unfolding unique journey. Join Cynthia Rose as she begins her unique perspective to all that is meaningful. Topics and personalities that support your path, bringing inspiration and passion and heart-centered ways to live a more fulfilling life. A down-to-earth and uplifting sharing of what it means to be spiritual, creative, and living life to the fullest by standing in the sunlight. Born an intuitive medium, Cynthia Rose is also an ordained minister, singer, astrologer, educator, and writer. She has studied the intuitive and healing arts for over 40 years. Rise up and stand in your sunlight now with Cynthia Rose.
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with you. It's been quite a good week. I've had a good week. I hope you have. I just back from the East Coast. Had a wonderful time working with mediums Stella Upton and my husband with Stephen Upton doing trance healing work. And I was doing mediumship. It was just beautiful. Today I'm talking about something completely different. Today's show is about living with chronic pain. Let me define chronic pain. Chronic pain is something that you have to have for 6 months or more. So it's not something that you have for 3 weeks. They're very, very different. So not a light topic, really. First, I want to say I'm not a doctor or a pain specialist, but I am my own pain specialist in terms of my own life. I lived for more than 20 years with chronic pain, and therefore I've learned a lot. And this show is, of course, only my experiences and thoughts that I am really sharing from the heart, hoping that some of what I share or any of what I share can be helpful for you or a loved one. It's a difficult topic. I'm happy to say that I am fully recovered and I don't live like how I did before. So I'm going to try and have some semblance to this, but this is a really deep topic. I've had people ask me to write a book on it, of which I've declined. So I don't know if that'll be in the future. So this is my little way of doing something I hope will help. So pain. Living with chronic pain. I'm really grateful that I live free of the intense pain that I had for many years. I lived, if pain's on a scale of 1 to 10, I lived for many years where 7 was a good day. So pain is a very powerful teacher. The doctors didn't have answers for many years. And I always believed in the power of the mind. I had already done some energy work or learned an energy practice. I was already an intuitive. So I had these gifts, but boy, I'll tell you, pain just put me into a whole different place where nobody really in my world understood me and I didn't understand my world. And there really wasn't, it took a long time for them to figure out what was wrong. It was precipitated by a car accident. I was lucky to be alive, and I probably looked like, for most of it, I probably looked just like somebody who was rather withdrawn, or, maybe I even looked like I was in a mood or something, but that's how I had to just live with it every day. I had to raise my son through it. So I tried different kinds of therapies utilizing Eastern and Western medicine. I believe that each pain journey is a personal one, and I did work for a short time for pain doctors, and I saw just how different everybody's experience was. You could have the same symptoms, but different things would work for different people. So I just want to say you have a master inside of you. If you do suffer from chronic pain or you know someone who has, there's a master inside of you. And you just need to peel back and find it if you don't believe me, because it's your master's there. So the body is constantly talking to us. It can be overwhelming, and our job is to listen. So I really believe that journaling can be a really important toolbox, one of the things in our toolbox to help us if things are jumbled up. It can be a way of letting it flow out and figure out what it is, because you may have thoughts you don't even realize are going on. And it's natural when we have pain to just try and ignore it and carry on. And we all have this, a coping mechanism, and it's part of our toolbox. And we also have another thing that makes it a personal journey is we all have a different pain threshold. And I would say that I had a high pain threshold. And so that was probably to my benefit in some ways and to my detriment in others. So, but first of all, I just want to say I lay in bed this morning before getting up and thinking how hard we can be on our bodies. Our bodies are the reason that we're here in this realm. And I think it's important that we can see our body as a friend, because when the body is going through a lot of suffering, it can be kind of hard to say, hey, you're my friend, if that's a lot of cause of suffering. But I think it's really important practice. Heaven forbid we look at someone else's body presence and think something unkind. But people do. And we do the opposite of this judgment when we look at how perfect someone else's body is and how another body is not. So whether or not you say it or simply think it, it does have a charge to it, a positive or negative type charge, like on a battery, positive or negative. And they're all just degrees of judgment, and that's all energy. So one of the first things I want to say is I want to encourage you to look in the mirror and appreciate your body. And I'm not talking about vanity here, but I mean appreciating your body. Because most women, and I don't know about most men, but I'm sure men have it too, we're all the same, have a spot on their body they don't like. I've seen where there's common areas that, well, I don't like this, but this always bothers me. There's a criticism. Do you put your clothes on in the morning and there's kind of a snide feeling about some area, or, oh, I'm bigger, or I'm skinny, or whatever it is, or this hurts, a judgment. That is an energy, I have to say. So if you identify one of those, I'm going to encourage you, put your hand there and say, I'm sorry, and really love your body. Those feet, if you can walk, those feet, even if they hurt, carry you to and fro. If you have ears that work, those ears are helping you. There's so many things that the body helps us with. So I had to learn to love my body, and this was before my accident for sure. I had to learn about that. I was taught to guard against vanity, so that in a sense was, well, I never wanted to say anything complimentary because I didn't want to be vain, so I had to grow through that. I'm not so much talking about that as I mean really appreciating your body. So my mom always said, beauty shines from within. And I remember as a young girl reading The Ugly Duckling, and I think it was at school, and I came home. I remember coming in the door and saying, Mom, will I grow up to be a swan? Because I already had a sense that something wasn't perfect with the way I looked. And that's just the way that was. It was just in the environment. It wasn't anything my mom taught me. It just was there. So I did learn to deal with that. But if your body's not functioning in a way that you want it to, you can be unconsciously sending negativity to it as it's speaking to you. It's doing its job, no doubt. So one day, My life was completely changed by an accident. I even wrote a paper on it called Accidental Change. When my professor handed it back to me, he had an incredulous look on his face because he had no idea that I came to his class 3 times a week in such severe pain. I don't remember his exact words. I just know that somehow he had been really affected by the paper. And for me, it had been a paper writing about the lessons I had learned so far. And I got the feeling that he was saying, I don't think I would have learned those lessons. But, you know, I know I've even heard a doctor say this. People will try many things, even get desperate when they want to be better. And I was desperately wanting to be better. So he was very ethical, and a hard marker, so that didn't give me any bonus points on my paper. But you might think, why am I talking about this? Because it is really important. There was a time when it was really, really, really tough, and I was going through a lot of surgeries. And I would say to my body, I know you're tired, but if you can just carry me through today, if we can just get through today, then I'm going to listen to you, what it is that you need. And it just works. It does. Learning to listen to your body. If you are a person living in chronic pain, then you must listen to your body. And you know what I'm talking about if you live in chronic pain, because if you push yourself too far, then your body will speak louder to you. Pain is a powerful teacher. It teaches you if you let it. And it's your personal journey. And I urge you to make this a part of your spiritual journey. You know, for me, I called this my journey of compassion. I grew up with no knowledge of pain. I would not have noticed when another person was in pain, but I can spot it very easily now. My own son had a problem when he was young with having a migraine, and I had no idea what it was. I didn't even really know what a migraine was. I might have heard the word, but I had no clue. And then I would learn later what that was. So I call this my journey of compassion. And I did my best to hide it for more than one reason. One, because I was taught to be stoic. And the other is I didn't want to hear 10 people. I didn't want people's pity. I didn't want people to look down on me. I didn't want to make people uncomfortable. So I did my best to just be responsible and hide it. I never wanted to be a complainer, where I probably took that a little too far, but I just thought I just want to be upright and forthright and do good in the world. So, you know, patronizing someone, there's a difference between having compassion for someone and patronizing someone. And if you haven't had that experience, then just be open to that. Patronizing is sort of a I'm above you kind of a thought, like, oh, you poor thing. I am up here and you're there. And there is kind of a feeling that's yucky with it. And people may not even realize that they're doing that. But if we're in a very sensitive state, it can certainly feel that way. And a lot of times, well-meaning people, when you're in pain, want to tell you everything you should do, shouldn't do, how their friend found their way. And it's all good. We should be open-minded to this. And the most important thing that helped me in my recovery and living with it before I recovered was listening. And there's different ways that we can listen. And people mean well, and we have to stay open-minded, but the feeling of being judged constantly, making a judgment about you, like, you poor thing, or why are you complaining, or what's the matter with you, or people sense it, it's not a good feeling. There's a vulnerability, and I know that after I had my accident, I felt in a sense like my auric field, like there was no boundary. I couldn't seem to have a protection, if you will. I just felt completely raw. There was definitely, some people called it that, there was more of a spiritual awakening. I don't know about that, because I feel like that was a gradual thing, not a sudden thing for me. But after I had the accident, I found it very difficult to listen to the news. I became very aware of all the suffering in the world. And that was difficult for me. So I withdrew. And there was also an attitude years ago when this happened to me of, well, you must have done something in this past life. It's karmic payback. And I could tell you, I heard it so often. I tried to take this in and work with it and thought, okay, what is that? You know what? Whether it's true or not is not the issue here. It didn't help me move forward. What it did help me is to create a guilt that put me in a purgatory and did nothing to help me heal my journey. I'm not saying whether that's true or not true. What I'm saying is it didn't help me recover. When you're in severe day-to-day survival chronic pain, you don't need to be feeling guilty that you created something. Whether we're responsible for that or not is not the point. The point is we're responsible for our situation in our life and our attitudes with how we go forward with them. That's what's really, really important. And over the years, there's been many, many beautiful things I learned in coping with pain. There are practices that I'll share that will hopefully be helpful to you, and you can find your way. And we're going to go to a break, and when we come back, we'll begin to dig into that. Thank you so much for joining me. Cynthia Rose Medium Group is open right now on Facebook. If you want to join it, Brendan will let you in. Okay, bye. See you in a minute.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTImes Radio. IOM FM.
OMTImes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Connect at omtimes.com. OMTImes, creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTImes magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On. My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. This breaks my heart, and it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and gives it to families in need. To help, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Okay, we're back. So today we're talking about living with chronic pain. So as I'm sharing my story, obviously I've shared already that I've healed from chronic pain. Some of you may be healing from chronic pain, and some of you may have conditions where you don't feel it's possible to heal. So that is still all of this would be helpful for you, because I would say a lot of the benefit of what I used, things I'm going to share, was mostly through living with it. Healing with it, that's a whole different story. That's a different conversation, really. Maybe we'll get there. So we talked about loving your body and loving your body deeply, not superficially. I also talked about employing journaling techniques. There are different journaling techniques to help you. It's so important, to find out what's going on with your body, because your body has a voice. It's speaking to you. But here's the interesting thing. There is no body, mind, spirit separation. But the fact that I'm talking about it separates it. So it's almost impossible to have this conversation without separating it. So that it just gets really difficult to identify that. That's where it gets kind of confusing, but there is no separation. So I had a real physical condition, and there was body, mind, spirit connected to all of it. So therefore, your body has needs that your unconscious may react to. This is well documented now. It's well documented how stress can affect us. The parasympathetic nervous system. I'm not going to get into a bunch of terms, but I read lots on that. And I will say that reading and educating myself and trying lots of different things was really important for me, because nobody had the answers. So feed your body what it needs, not junk food. Okay, even if you're on a limited budget, you can eat better than junk. Your body is a child like that, I will say. It needs love and care. And if you eat junk food, of course it wants it, because it's addictive. So I found that, sugar was something that I was always wanting, not good for me. And so I had to replace it with other things. And, if you read about that, sugar can mean that you need more protein. Maybe that's in the form of carbs, maybe not. But I would encourage you to find out what kind of body makeup works good for you, what diet, because not all diets are the same. So I can't sit here and say to you, you should eat this type of diet or that type of diet. And when I've done those tests, I come out as a mixed person. So, okay. So I'm getting really passionate about this. So pay attention to what you eat, love, and eat that too. Pay attention to what you love and eat that too. What is it you love to do? It's important. What is it that brings you excitement? Creativity must not be underestimated. I, in my travels, became aware of a group of people that lived with various illnesses that there was no cure for. So they were in pain, but they had different diagnosis of pain. And a lot of them found that taking up a creative hobby of some kind was helpful. I never heard one say it wasn't, but I leave that with you. Realize that the significant people in your life may not understand what you're going through, and their reactions probably not personal, because they have coping mechanisms too. There's more than one person that told me they found it hard seeing me go through what I went through. And your loved ones can feel very helpless. Don't expect them to understand. Don't put that ultimatum of, well, if you love me, you'd understand, because they don't. And if you really think about it, what you're going through, how can you explain it to someone else? My husband felt very, very helpless. Excuse me. And It was one day I was talking to the spirit world. I'm going to diverge a little bit here, go off track. And I had healed, and I asked for an understanding of what he had gone through, because I was better and he was still kind of reacting, like worrying about me, and why won't he let it go? And I woke up early one morning and I heard something about here's how he felt. And all of a sudden this weight, this dread, this helpless dread came over me. And I thought, oh my gosh, how could I even get up out of bed in the morning if I felt like that? It was just horrible. And I don't remember the words that I found for it at the time, but later that day I asked him, is this what it felt like for you? And he looked at me and nodded his head up and down. Yes. I said, I'm so sorry, dear, that you went through that. And he said, yes, every time you went into the hospital, there was fear. Sometimes I thought I was going to lose you. I mean, I had no idea because I was so busy coping. So don't expect your loved ones to understand. And I know a specialist that I talked to said family members usually understand the least because they're just too close to you and they have a vision of you that doesn't fit with you with chronic pain. And if you're in chronic pain, it can change your personality. And they don't understand that. So that being said, believe your life can be terrific and go to doctors that support this. And realize that most doctors are trying to do their best, but they may not have all the answers for what you're going through. They are somebody's son or father or brother, and they're working with what we have. Sorry, I don't know how to turn that off if you heard that. Chronic pain burns doctors out because they're often working with a no-cure patient group. They don't know what to do. They get people yelling at them and blaming them. I knew a doctor that decided to retire her practice and take time off for herself to renew herself before coming back. She knew she needed to do this. She was burning out. She was a very talented artist, and she really needed time to look after her spiritual journey, and she needed a break. And when she told me this, I was a patient. I was glad for her because she really saw me and she was trying to help me in my journey. But sadly, I went to see her one day and she said, thank you so much for understanding that I have to go. Because I've had patients storming in here yelling. We've had patients phoning, yelling, screaming, crying. I've had people saying that I have no right to leave. How dare I? And there's a doctor crisis in this area, so there was no one to replace. They were on their own to find someone. You know what? Your doctor's not responsible for healing you. And if that makes you mad, then you may have to accept staying the same because, as I said, chronic pain is a personal journey. And if it's come down to you're desperate for them to find the reason, and all they can do is manage your pain, then that's where you are. That's what you're going to get. And we're all personally responsible for how we deal with the cards we're dealt. So don't allow yourself to feel like you're a victim of, well, they haven't found it. You need to step in there because they don't have all the answers. Chronic pain is not a well-studied field that has tons of answers. They study small groups of people, and those journeys are all different, maybe different than yours. So there are some things they know. So there's a whole personality that can go along with this. You know, do you need permission to say, no, I don't feel like going out tonight? I can't do this favor for you. Do you hide behind your pain saying, I'm sorry, I'm not feeling well? You know, sometimes we do that. We don't want to hurt people's feelings, but so I can't tell you what to say, but There are times when I felt like I needed to step up and say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to make it. Period. Don't need to give a reason. And that was an important growth for me. I didn't want to talk to everybody about how I'm feeling at that time when I was in that place. I just learned to own it. I went to a family dinner where I didn't eat everything that was expected to be eaten. You know what? I didn't say anything and no one noticed. So that was fine. Family is often the last to understand. And my family was no exception. They didn't know what was going on with me because the doctors hadn't figured it out. It was so incredulous that by the time they did, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but very grateful. So you're the only one that gives away or takes away permission. So if you're determined, and I know determination was my strong suit to heal, then don't give up and keep that determination and do what you can to build your faith on that. So that kind of ties in where we want to strengthen our spirit, which we'll get back to. So that being said, if I went to doctors that told me I would never get better, I went to another doctor. I see a doctor as an advisor. What can he or she offer me? If all they can offer you is medications and you need to take them, then that's your relationship. And don't expect more if that's where you are. But if you feel like you can talk with them about other things, then that can be really helpful. You know, I talked to two specialists about the fact that I was aware of energy, that I could do something with my mind and it would help. And I was thinking of taking courses in this and to learn more about it. You know, one of the specialists just, I could see, I didn't even get that far. I knew they weren't open to it. But one of the specialists said to me, the mind is really powerful. Yeah, let me know when you've signed up for that. I'd love to hear about it. And I was encouraged. So now my doctor became an ally in my exploring this path of chronic pain to get better. So if you're real and human with them, you may find you can connect with them on a different level, or you may not, because we're all individuals. It's your choice what to do from there. I had so many medical professionals that tried to help me, and I'm so grateful to all of them. But in the end, it was my persistence to recover that was very pertinent. Excuse me. And I had one doctor say to me, you've thrived in spite of doctors, in spite of us all. You have really dug in and learned a lot. Well, it's my life, isn't it? I took charge of it. So if you're in chronic pain, there are answers that you just don't know, that your doctor doesn't know, and you're on an exploration journey. It is your journey. And, you know, I tried yoga back then. I had been a yogi. I was in shape when I was injured. I went from being the one that a yoga teacher would use as an example. Look, she bends this way. We can do that. I was a fitness instructor. I did some work in that area, to a private session with my yoga teacher where I could do nothing. And then I started sneaking into down the road to seniors yoga groups, and all the old women would look at me like, what are you doing here? You look fine. But I was just working at trying to help my body to keep things moving. And I'm happy to say now I have a daily yoga practice. It's important, but I've gotten older through it all. I don't know what it's like to be growing older and feeling things, because I've gotten younger as I've gotten older that way. So I figure some of it's like I have to stay more active. What I do for work causes me to sit. So the yoga is beautiful. You know, nurture your body, mind, and soul because they are one. And I can remember finding complete peace. And I knew my body was suffering. And I practiced this a lot. The energy work that I practiced, I would be in complete peace. Oh, my body's still going through something, because I hadn't found the operation yet. I hadn't gone through those operations. I will have an online support group for people if you're interested in learning about this energy work and doing that. That's something I'm building right now. It was so powerful. If you have a hard time with meditation or sitting still because of chronic pain, this is something I had. Being still was, I tried methods where you had to sit still and do something, and I couldn't do it. So I had to learn a different way of quieting the mind, which is a very powerful support. Quieting the mind, I just can't speak enough about it. And we will talk about why quieting the mind, even from a scientific point of view, why it's so important. So I know we're going to go to a break soon. Let's see here. If you're feeling sad because you're in pain, it's possible that you're feeling sad. So this is a perfect time for a break. When we come back, we will do the last segment of talking about living with chronic pain. See you in a minute.
Free your mind with OMTImes Radio, IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free, ascendinghearts.com.
Tune in to the Practical Intuitive, Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World with me, host Robin Fritz, Mondays at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 Eastern. I'll cover personal and business intuition, animal communication, mediumship, space clearing, past life regression, shamanic insights, energy healing, soul choice, and more, all to help you tap your own intuitive and healing skills. No ifs, ands, or buts.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone who
had to be independent and take initiative. And that's how I handle every project I get.
Discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org. Brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
Okay, we're back. I will say, if you are interested in being part of the online group, I'll give you an email to send to me, or to send me drop me a note at the end here. So, grieving. So when I woke up and realized, my life had completely changed, I tried to carry on as if I would be fine, and I was originally told that I would be fine in a month. The first doctors that I had, they didn't know what was going on. They thought, oh, you'll be fine in a month. And then it was 3 months. I was physically fit, whole life ahead of me. I hadn't been sick in years. Maybe a cold. I'd gone to a college doctor. So I had to get a doctor, and I have to say, she was pretty burned out, bitter, and ready for retirement. But here's the interesting thing. Her way of going through life was to be stoic and push through. So that's what she told me. Buck up, get back to work, you'll be fine. Only I wasn't. But I need to point out here, I'm not blaming her. I was raised to be stoic. Isn't that interesting that I ended up with a personality of a doctor that mirrored my beliefs? And so, why did I go there? I could have said, no, I'm not going to go there, because what she was saying to me was already in my data bank of beliefs. But that led me to go, okay, this isn't really working. I'm doing my best and I'm not getting better. I kept ending up in the ER. So I eventually found another doctor. And that all kind of happened in a synchronicity kind of way, which I'm grateful for. And at one point, my doctor and my specialist both told me that you need to not be working so much and you pushing too hard. And I thought, well, I can't not do that. I've got a mouth to raise. Well, let's agree to part-time. But you see, I already had that belief about being stoic and pushing through, which in some ways was harming me because there was some severe issue there. And I did ultimately go through a study where I learned just how much I was pushing my body. So I take responsibility. But I'm lucky I found those two healing doctors. Although they didn't cure me, they treated patients with mind, body, and spirit. And through this opening, I began to live my life little by little, that it had changed. I had to live day by day, which brought me to moment by moment. Because sometimes that's what it was like. I just have to get through the next 5 minutes. Okay, let's get through another 5 minutes. And I went through all my days like that. But moment to moment brought me to learning how to live in the moment, which had previously been lost to me. What a huge, life-changing gift, living in the moment. You know, there are levels to living in the moment. We can be very lightly here and not really in the depth of the moment, or we can live very deeply in the moment. And I'm really grateful I learned that's life-shifting and changing for me. And that was through all the energy work that I practiced and the other things. You know, because I had such a strong image of being healthy, and I was pretty stubborn, I kept trying my best to go back to where I was. This had two sides to it, because years later, doing rehab, after the surgeries, I would tap into remembering my body healthy and strong, and I was doing a physical, I think I was lifting weights, and all of a sudden, I'm like, I'm a young girl again, I'm a young woman doing this. I'm 21. You know, I was tapping into that power in the moment. And my physio, fantastic physio that I had, was very interested in that, said, yeah, I think that's powerful that you did that. And I moved leaps ahead. So I was tapping into a power in the mind there. So is my body like it was then? Well, not exactly, because I'm so many years older. But like I say, I've gotten younger. I do yoga poses today that I didn't even do 5 years ago. I've gotten younger. So, and I think I've already talked about bringing up the power of the mind with doctors, which can create an ally if you feel that you can trust them in that way. So there are many people that live with pain who have productive and happy lives. And I've met and worked with many who find that energy work is helpful. I've taught this and had much feedback from people. You know, having someone provide me with energy work sessions was lovely. But with my condition, I would have needed many times a week, and it just made sense to learn more about it and help myself. So having an energy work practice can really help. You know, that ties in helping the body, the energy work, and it also ties into spirituality because we realize we're so much more than we are. And it can quiet the mind. So it kind of gets you on all three levels if you're working that. And it'll let you know if you're pushing your body. Because if you are, you won't feel better. And, you know, I just want to mention that there is so much documentation about getting your body into that deep, deep, deep relaxed brainwave state where people have shared healing from much more than chronic pain. There is a power there to reset the body because we're calming parasympathetic nervous system. We're calming different elements of who we are. So your mind is like a garden. If you allow the weeds or the thoughts that don't help your mind to flourish, then you create a stress. You're a spirit in a body, and that spirit knows freedom and yearns to be acknowledged. And so I feel that energy work for me helped link all three. It helped to bring everything into an awareness of body, mind, and spirit, and that's when the healing really happened. But I want to make sure I say here again, my pain was real. It was documented. I had physical reasons for the pain. It just took many years to find the root cause of the body pain, and so that made me explore root causes of pain from body, mind, spirit, even though we can't separate them. And there are people that live their life with pain and won't heal from it, but can live a very different life by, working with body, mind, spirit. There are people that live with mental pain that's just as debilitating. Depression is a form of pain. I'm not the type to get depressed, but I did go through mourning my life change. And I did find that having to, say, well, this is where I am now. See, that put me learning to go back into the moment. It's possible to be grieving your old life, and it is possible to be holding on to it. And you can have underlying beliefs that are keeping your body tense. So for me, I had a fear of not getting everything done, which I tied that into a fear of death. Made no sense to me because I know there is no death. So I don't really fear death, but I had this sense, what it was is fear of leaving too soon. And since I lost my family members too early, to me, they left early. I didn't want to leave early. So that was an unconscious thing in there. Didn't even realize it was going on. It wasn't really a thought, actually. It was a feeling. And this is where energy work can be very powerful because feelings are not always identified in, a nice, neat paragraph. And we can just release those feelings. You don't have to create a whole story to release something. So, I have a little list of some things I'm going to pull out to remind you. So remember, you're a spirit in a body, and that spirit has access to an internal wisdom that knows exactly how to communicate with your body and how to get a sense of where you should go to heal. So don't give up on that. First of all, be kind to yourself. And even though we talk body, mind, spirit, realize there's no separation. Being kind to yourself, I can't speak high about that. Stop denigrating yourself for anything. Judgment can be like a poison, just like anger and holding a grudge. That will just keep you in a sense of disconnection from that spiritual sense of yourself. And that being said, judgment is not, it's a useful tool. We need judgment for certain things we do in our lives, but not against ourselves. Journaling. Identify where you feel burdened and work on releasing the burdens. Whatever that is, listen to that. Find laughter and joy so your body can relax. When I was in severe pain, I put on comedies and I couldn't even watch them. So I had my eyes closed. I had something over my eyes so the light wouldn't bother me. And I would listen. And I don't think I could even laugh at the time because the laughing was difficult. But I was laughing inside. And it reminded me not to get too serious. The heaviness of seriousness can start leading to stressful thoughts. we can work ourselves up into stressful thoughts that creates another stress. The body's going, hey, I'm trying to handle this pain for you, and now you're stressing out. There's a stillness that you need to find for your body so that your body can relax. And know that there is a level of stillness that you don't even know exists. At the deepest levels of awareness, stillness is what helps the body to heal or cope. Remember, you're not being judged or paying a price. You're having an experience. It has much to offer you. And if you're carrying sadness, face up to it and work on handling it. Know that your thoughts carry power. I do believe in angels. They're not there for us to whine at. They're there as support. Thank you, angels, for surrounding me. I accept your love. Thank you, loved ones, for sending your love to me. Know that your loved ones that have passed always want to send you love and healing. I can't tell you how many times somebody has come through and mentioned something about someone's back or shoulder or health issues and how they're sending them love and healing. So accept it. Gratitude is key here. Focus on what you're grateful for. There was a time when I said to my husband, okay, I'm going to be grateful that there's no pain in my nose. Because there was no pain in my nose. I couldn't really find where there wasn't pain, but I focused on my nose. And it was a coping technique. But I was grateful that I had feet, that I had hands, that I had my ears. You just really need, in tougher times, we need to focus on what we're grateful for. And it's easy to be grateful when you have all you want, but that's not how we learn gratefulness. That's not where gratitude is useful. Appreciate what you already have. We have so much. I met somebody this week who was a victim of torture in war, who was helping other victims and then was captured and tortured for helping other people. It really puts your life into perspective if you're complaining about the fact that, you missed your TV show or, mundane things. Really focus on what you're grateful for. It will help. Remember, we're here in our bodies and we need to honor them. It makes me think of, I have to mention Stephen Hawking. I mean, look at the life he had. Look at what he did. Just a kid with terrible diagnosis, and he lived his life fully the best he could. You have that ability as well. So don't give up. Keep loving, keep learning. Be open-minded to new things. Of course, if you're interested in joining an online energy group, you can email me at standinginthesunlight@gmail.com. I don't have it up yet, but it will be up there ongoing. I just changed my life, so I'm so happy to share it. I'm not telling you to change anything you're doing with doctors. It's just a support. If you're an empath, you'll need to have some skills here. Because if you're feeling, I was always empathic, and then when I was injured, my empathic abilities went through the roof, and I had to learn to work with that. Empaths have to learn how to not hold on to all it is that they're feeling. It's really quite important. I can't speak to that enough. I could walk in a room and I could feel what everybody's feeling, and I really had to learn to deal with that. You really don't want to be focusing on that. You want to focus on helping your body to cope and removing yourself from that. Anything that helps you integrate your awareness of body, mind, spirit is going to be helpful. For me, music is so powerful. I do have a meditation CD on my website that people find helpful. I think it's the last track that people find very helpful. But there's so many things like that. You can go to where you're drawn, moving gently. I couldn't dance like I used to when I was injured. So you've just got to try the different things and don't give up. Please remember to stand in your sunlight. You can do that. If nature brings you peace, then you can focus on nature in your mind if you can't get out to see it. But you're on your own spiritual journey, so own it and love it the best you can, because it will make it easier. I know I have walked this path. I talk from experience. At a time when there wasn't really anyone that understood what I was going through, but there was some beautiful souls that walked along with me. Forever grateful to, I have to say, to my husband, who was so helpless to see what I was going through. I have to say that. I hope you have a great week. We're going to have Conscious Children's Stories next week with Andrew Newman. We're going to have an elephant lady also the week after. We're really looking forward to having you next week. Have a good week, okay? Thanks so much for listening.